Beginner DM Guide to Running Your First Session of a Campaign. So you're about to run your very first session. Congratulations! You've done your pre-game meeting. All the expectations, tone, character creation, and player introductions are all done. So it's time to play. Here's my guide to how I usually run a session 1. When it comes to the first session of a campaign, I try to hit 3 beats. 1. Character introductions. 2. Action. And 3. Build anticipation. I'll go through each of these steps beat by beat so you can see how it might go. Character introductions. So if I have a chance, I'd love to message everyone before the session about what the prompt is. By prompt, I'm meaning the situation that the characters find themselves in first. What brings them together? Like if you have a specific quest that's been issued, and they're supposed to meet the quest giver in a tavern. Whatever it is, giving the players the heads up can make this introduction a lot smoother. The basic elements I generally ask on introduction are: where do we find your character in the tavern? What are they doing? These 2 questions work hand in hand. Some players will just say, he's at the bar drinking, and that's perfect, while others may wax on a bit longer. Note this, so then you know who's a little more comfortable adding some flavor at the start, and who isn't. The next question I ask is, what does your character look like? If the player's a little hesitant, they might just say something like, an elf ranger, in which case you can prompt with a few more classic details. How tall are they? What are they wearing? Any colors in particular to stand out or blend in? The idea is that we get a clearer picture with each question, and we can use more or less questions depending on how much prompting the player seems to need in that moment. I might send this list for inspiration, so that anyone who's less inclined towards improvisation can have some time to prepare. Who goes first? I'm generally inclined to ask, which of your characters would arrive earliest to the tavern? Is there anyone that would try to case the place first, or are you more inclined to get there fashionably late? If no one speaks up, we use the universal equalizer, a roll of a dice. It's important to note that whoever goes first tends to feel the most pressure on them, so I try to lessen that pressure as much as I can by giving them their time without as much expectation. It might go like this. So I rolled a 4. That means it'll be you, Michael. Okay, so where's Terrence, and what is he doing? Terrence is probably sitting in a side booth alone eating. Cool. What does your character look like? He's a fighter, so he's got chainmail on and a shield. Great. As far as the clothes around the chainmail go, do you imagine any specific colors, or is it just metal on metal? Oh, maybe black? Fantastic. Oh, I forgot to ask. What's your ancestry? Is Terrence human? Yes, human. Is he pretty tall? Yeah, probably 6'4". What's his hair like? Pretty short, brown hair. Fantastic. We'll pan over to the next character. That's a 2. Jessica, you're up. Once each player has introduced their character, at least to the players, not necessarily to the characters yet, it's time to pull everyone into the element that's brought them all together. In this case, a quest giver that has asked them for assistance. If you want everyone to go to the quest giver, then make it super clear who's shown up. This can be where we tie in the prompt. Maybe the quest was on the board and the name of the quest giver is well known, so everyone recognizes them immediately. If someone got the quest from a contact instead, maybe they got the description from them. You all notice that Sarah, the person who issued the quest, sits down in the middle of the tavern. She's an older human woman, maybe in her 60s, with gray hair tied in a bun. She's wearing a deep purple dress. If the players seem open to adding flavor, you can make a show of it and ask how everyone makes their way over to the quest giver. Or we could say that everyone notices the quest giver, goes over, and receives the request. The introduction might be, "Hi, I'm Sarah. Thank you for being willing to help." Before we push any further, one of my favorite ways to get the characters introduced to each other, so everyone has a chance to talk, is to have the first quest giver ask them, "Before I get into my request, I just want to make sure you're all capable. I don't want to send a poor civilian like me into the Blue Forest to deal with bandits. Are you all good at combat?" This might feel a little heavy-handed, but it gets the point across that fighting might be involved, and this can spur the players to talk to each other about what they each can do. "Yes, I'm pretty good with a sword and shield." "Good. How about you?" Sarah will gesture to Claudia. "I'll make sure everyone stays safe with my healing." As always, depending on how open the players are, they might go off a bit with talking about their class abilities and whatnot. If not, at the very least, see if you can use your NPC to get them to say what their characters are good at before we launch into the quest. Our objective. The quest giver should clearly express 3 things to the players. 1. What do the PCs need to do? 2. When do they need to do it? 3. Why are they doing it? What do the PCs need to do? This is the task. Maybe the players are supposed to help Sarah retrieve her lost brooch from the bandits in the forest. Make it clear and concise exactly what's being asked of them. When do they need to do it? In this case, since it's session 1, we can usually safely say right now. Since the players have come together to play this game, they're likely to push to take care of it right away, because presumably they don't really have anything else to do yet. Even if there's a secret backstory involved with a character or two. We usually don't anticipate having to deal with that immediately, but you can add time urgency by saying that something might happen to the objective if it's not dealt with quickly. Why are they doing it? Simply put, we give them a reward. Level 1 rewards don't have to be super grand. Gold is the universal language, so we could say something simple like 50 gold each, and that'll usually do. So it might sound like, I lost my family heirloom, a brooch that was given to me by my grandmother while I was traveling through the Blue Forest. When I went to look, I heard a group of bandits hooting and hollering about it. If you could get it back before they pawn it off, I would greatly appreciate it. I don't have a lot of money, but I could probably give you 50 gold apiece for bringing it back. There's a clear objective. Retrieve the brooch in the Blue Forest from the bandits before they pawn it. Receive 50 gold per person as a reward. There might be some haggling here and there, or maybe someone tries to use persuasion or something to get more money out of this poor woman. It's up to you how high of a roll they would need to persuade her. The players might also start asking questions at this point. As far as the bandits are concerned, the brooch itself, stuff like that. You can answer a few questions if you'd like, but if you want them to get moving along, you can just let Sarah leave. Using a good in-world justification can help here. I'm sorry, I have to get back to work. Can be all you need. Of course, make sure to let them know where they can collect their reward. I live in the little red house by the lumber mill. I have a small statue of a dog outside. You can't miss it. From here, you can ask them how they want to start this mission, what they want to do first. Presumably, they already spent their starting gold on beginning equipment before they got to the table, so they might want to take off immediately. But if anyone wants to collect information about the bandits, you can decide if anyone knows anything about them. If you really need to urge them along, I heard that the group of bandits were moving on to the next town soon, something about fencing their hall, which might give the players a kick in the butt towards their objective. Next, we travel, moving the characters from town to the Blue Forest. You can decide how long of a journey it might be, but make sure to give the players an opportunity to decide what they do en route. So, do y'all say anything while you're on the way to the Blue Forest? It'll take you about half an hour to reach the tree line from the road out of town. Would anyone have any questions for each other or anything like that? There's a chance that no one will bite, which is fine. But I always want to open a door in case anyone's dying to ask anyone else a question. Maybe a little bit of roleplay. This is all part of the character introduction section, so they can get to know each other. Just don't shame them if no one speaks up, if they're super jazzed to get there. Once they reach the Blue Forest, we get into action mode. At this point, we can pitch to our players. So you've reached the Blue Forest. How do you want to proceed? What might you do to try to find the bandits? And at this point, the world is your player's oyster. They might have ideas like, can I listen for the hootin' and hollerin' of the bandits? Which could easily be a perception roll. Or they might think, if the bandits aren't super concerned about concealing their presence, maybe they've left tracks. Can I see if I find tracks? Which could be a perception, investigation, or even survival. I'm very much inclined to be open for a good justification for a roll. Now, since we want our players to happen upon the bandits, I'm less inclined to say that a low roll results in them not finding the bandits at all. I want them to find the bandits. So I set up a range of lower roll results in less favorable conditions, while higher rolls result in more favorable conditions. For example, I got a 1. This could result in their attempt to locate the bandits taking a really long time, perhaps even to the point that the bandits become aware of the characters snooping around. Worst case, the bandits might even set up an ambush, whereas a high roll, I got a natural 20 for a total of 24. This could result in them locating the bandit camp before the bandits are aware of their presence. It can become a stealth mission, where the PCs can secure the best possible advantage before fighting breaks out. In either case, for most groups, we do want fighting to happen. If you're playing D&D, combat is one of the main components, so we want to hit that for our session 1. If not just because everyone built their characters with it in mind, but also so that the characters get to bond together and learn how to work with each other. The initial searching for the bandit rolls simply help dictate how much of a drop our players or the bandits have on this battle. Combat time. So here's where we set the precedent for combat. Whatever expectations you've set for how difficult or lethal the combats will be, this is where you prove it. If everyone has agreed that it'll be like Lord of the Rings with epic heroes like Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas, then the PCs should mop the floor with these bandits. If everyone has agreed that every character is like a normal average person who could die at any moment, then this fight will be a bit tougher. Regardless, remember that balance starts in your planning stages, but continues when you're playing. If you want more advice on balancing combats on the fly, leave a comment, and I'll make a video focused on that. Honestly, the combat will probably take the most time out of all the elements, because every turn is so focused on one character, and there are so many characters to deal with, whether PC or bandit. Just make sure you give the players their chances to shine. For the vast majority of D&D games, where the characters are heroic and will be stuff of legend, the players should win this battle and get the brooch. Maybe some more loot too from the bandit camp, like gold and other items. If you're feeling particularly generous, maybe some items that were considered junk by the bandits and are actually magical if they are identified. But with that win under their belt, they can take the brooch back to town, back to Sarah, who thanks them, rewards them, and starts spreading word of how helpful and effective our heroes are. Which leads me into our last phase, build anticipation. At this point, the players should already have some level of anticipation for the next session. We've gotten in some roleplay, some action, and we've conquered our first quest. To be honest, this phase is just icing on the already delicious cake. You can end this session with the beautiful words, "After Sarah thanks you all and you all get ready for a good night's rest, we can return to this town, these characters, next time." But with one key difference. Y'all have leveled up, which should already spark massive excitement. But if you want some extra credit, if you have an idea of what you might want to introduce for the next session or arc, we can add in a little more intrigue with a classic cliffhanger, like, as our heroes enjoy drinks courtesy of Sarah, drinking songs aplenty, we pan to a figure peeking into the tavern through one of the dirtier windows. Soft muttering is heard before this figure walks off into the night. And that's where we leave off this session. And the cliffhanger doesn't have to be insidious. For instance, you all get to bed after celebrating your victory. The next morning, a knock is heard at the door of Terrence's room. I think yours is the closest to the stairs. A letter is slid underneath. It's sealed with red wax, and written on it in fine penmanship is, "From Mayor Townsend," which, coupled with the excitement of the session and the joy of leveling up, should give us plenty of energy leading into session 2. But I hope this helps you as a beginner DM, as far as what you can expect from a session 1. Maybe some guidelines to help steer you in the right direction. But remember, these are just guidelines, not hard and fast rules by any means. But if you want more detail or clarification on anything, let me know in the comments. If this was helpful, leave a like, subscribe, it really helps me out. But until next time, stay safe and take care.